Hello. Do I have 4 jingles or 3?
4.
4. Yeah.
4.
Yes.
Jeez, I mean, I hadn't heard that one in a long time.
Well, only people that pick up arms and go defend Ukraine.
That's right.
That's my pleasure.
Malcolm, I don't know if you heard that. The what's his name? Am I saying this right? Van Tatenhove, the former Oath Keeper that testified yesterday. I literally said to Travis, I felt like I was reading out of Malcolm Nance's book. Him talking about civil war, him talking about what could happen next, the ongoing insurgency. Were you struck by that too?
I mean, it's just absolutely ironic that this guy testifies on my book launch day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And look, I went out. I was up in upstate New York. We had a big discussion about this book on public radio. And I'm going to be honest with you and your listeners. This book is terrifying. Yeah. It's terrifying, but it is critical. Everyone understands what they're up against here. And that's part of the problem. People are, spend more time playing Candy Crush and not realizing guys like this are out there planning, buying ammunition, preparing for civil war. And if he hadn't been arrested, I mean, I don't even think he was particularly, particularly chased over what he did on the revolution, on the insurrection.
The part where he said we need to stop mincing words, it was an armed revolution. I mean, I think the parts where you saw all the people online and what they were saying, reacting to Donald Trump's orders, it's exactly what you've been saying. This is a civil war. This is an ongoing insurgency.
I'm gonna break my arm patting myself on the back again because no one else is going to do it. I said this on November 6, 2020, 2 days after the election. I was on Real Time with Bill Maher, and I said, Kumbaya, you want gloom and doom? I'm going to give you gloom and doom. There won't be any kumbaya, right?
Yeah.
It will be insurgency. And an insurgency is a series of insurrections and a political campaign and a military and terrorist campaign to destabilize the government. We're deeply, deeply into the political campaign. The Republican Party has become an insurgent party. They no longer care about governing. They are there to destroy. And it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to guys like the Oath Keepers to start killing people on the basis of that.
Yeah. Well, the fact that he was talking about, I worry about the upcoming election and what this ongoing insurgency, I thought was chilling. I mean, here's another point. Stuart Stevens, former Republican, said, just remember, almost every Republican didn't want America to learn what we are learning. And no Republican leader has said they will not support Trump if he's the nominee. These are not patriots. These are men, and they are mostly men who care about power, not their country. Mark Elias said, please don't forget that not a single Trump official spoke out at the time to say Trump should concede. It's good they are now, months later, admitting under oath Trump was unhinged, but their public silence at the time was an enabling form of complicity. If you wonder how we got here, right?
Well, this is, and I write extensively about this in this book. If you want to see the transformation of the Republican Party, there's a chapter in there about how, they sort of tried to control QAnon, and QAnon consumed the party. The beliefs that liberals are fundamentally evil, that they must be eliminated, that they should be killed, that they should have people hung in the day of the noose where they go around. That, by the way, was a scenario that came from the guy who wrote the book, The Turner Diaries, that Timothy McVeigh used to blow up the Oklahoma City building, where they go around and they were going to look for Jews and liberals and whites that supported blacks and hang them from street posts, right? That was part of the plot to kill Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Plan A was to hang Democratic lawmakers out of the windows of the buildings. When they say they bought that scaffold to the Capitol as a piece of performance art, I have no doubt they would have hung Mike Pence from it. Yeah. They would have killed him. Yeah. And we are at the point where our political opponents here mean us harm. And I don't say this lightly. You guys know, you've been hearing me shout for 2 years now on this. This is a serious situation. You need to buy the book and read it. It's not a talisman. It's not
Yeah.
going to protect you
And-
unless you get the words inside.
Yeah, and by the way, Malcolm, all of these Republicans knew, not just the 10 that they named that were directly involved in this yesterday, but one of the most chilling things I remember is Adam Schiff talking about to us is that he said a Republican colleague on January 6th said to him, "You have to hide. They know who you are."
Right.
Like you
Right.
said, anyone they recognize, be it Pence or Pelosi, Romney, anybody that they could have recognized, like Adam Schiff, and a Republican colleague knew enough to say, "You need to hide." They if they see you, right?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. This, and I was talking to Michael Cohen on his podcast the other day, and I was talking to him about the scenario that Trump was going to come to the Capitol and parade down into the well of the House and be appointed dictator.
Yeah.
And he wanted this. He wanted the Secret Service to take him there so that he could go into that building and take control of American democracy and eliminate it right there, to kill it right there in the well of the House. This is dangerous times. He intends to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even worse, if Donald Trump, God forbid, were to have one croissant too many at Mar-a-Lago and keel over, you've got the DeSantises out there that are willing to pick up this mantle and motivate people to kill. And someone asked me, how come you didn't call it Americans want to kill Americans? No, I want you to see them as they.
Yeah.
I want you to think, who is they? And it's very clear. They who want to kill Americans are your neighbors.
Yeah. And by the
Can't
way,
tell them apart in many instances.
Lawrence Tribe made a point. I read a tweet earlier this morning, Malcolm, saying that he's been hesitant to use the word, but that Joe Scarborough is using it, and it is correct to use the word treason. That this is
Yes.
the overthrow of the United States government that we are seeing attempted here. And I was so struck by your book, your first book, about warning us about Russia and who were the three. Bannon, Flynn. I mean, these guys, because they got away with all this and got pardoned, they're available again to keep committing treason, right? I mean,
Absolutely, Paul Manafort.
yeah,
This is just absolutely ludicrous. This is all going to happen again. And here's what I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear you liberals calling me or seeing me on the streets doing what you're doing now, which is going, Malcolm, where can I buy a gun? What kind of gun should I buy? Where should we train? I don't want to hear that. All of you who come up to me and say, I'm sick of hearing you say we have to vote. That's the only weapon the Constitution affords you to change the laws. And you can be dang sure your political opponents this November, they're not only going to change the laws, they will end your laws. Look, women have less rights than a firearm right now.
yeah,
Less rights than a firearm. That's insane. I'm overseas and they think we're crazy now.
yeah.
And we are, because we have mass shootings and murders all of the time. We have cops that are immunized by the Supreme Court saying they have no obligation to actually go and save you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ludicrous
And
what's
Malcolm,
happening.
we just had a caller right before you came on that I'm like, this is an orchestrated campaign to divide Democrats. He's like, we have weak leaders. Biden's weak. I'm like, this is this whole should Biden run in 24? This is all to divide Democrats before 2022. It reminds me exactly of 2016.
And who are these Democrats? Who are these Democrats that would prefer to destroy the party? What, you're not getting something? Is there some specific thing you're not getting? Gas prices going up. This is the greatest period of economic growth since Barack Obama.
Yeah.
We are recovering this in this country. We came out of a pandemic. People are still dying. And the selfishness of some of these extreme progressive liberals, all right, who have to, everyone has to pass a purity test. Here's the purity test. This nation's American experiment will end this November if you do not get going and motivate yourself. It's not about Joe Biden. It's about George Washington. It's about Jefferson, Adams, Lincoln saving what we have.
Yeah.
And I wrote this book to warn you the other side is not only armed, they're organized, and they have a plan.
And by the way, to your point, they want to kill Americans, the ongoing insurgency. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal called the police over the weekend to report people outside her home using obscene language. The man was arrested on suspicion of a hate crime for threatening to kill the congresswoman. When officers arrived, they found the man standing in the middle of the street with his hands in the air, a .40 caliber handgun holstered on his waist. A neighbor told police she heard the man yell something to the effect of, "Go back to India, I'm going to kill you." The man lives within a half a mile of Jayapal. His bail was set at $500,000, but prosecutors unsuccessful in filing for an anti-harassment order to protect Jayapal. I mean, as you keep saying, this is ongoing, this insurgency.
Well, this isn't about making someone uncomfortable enough to eat a steak, all right? Which I think every person has the right to free speech. They have the right to interfere, to communicate their thoughts in the public forum, so long as they don't threaten or bring firearms, which the Republicans, by the way, they protest with firearms to give you the inherent threat that they could mass murder you.
Yeah.
That's why they that's why they come to these rallies with lots of guns. Right. They understand the value of that. There's only one thing that defeats that, and it's in the book that I wrote about it. That is your massed people power of voting. And if you don't believe this, if you're not working your friends and families, then everything that I write in that book is going to come true. And by the way, for those of you who have read my other books, I generally end on a constitutional happy end note, trying to give you some hope. I do not end on hope in this book. The last phrase in this book should terrify the heck out of you, because it came from a cop, right? Who was planning mass murder.
Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm, wonder what you're most struck by so far by the J6 hearings, and what you're looking forward to. I mean, have you been shocked by any of it? And what's your general reaction?
Well, not a lot of it has shocked me, because I finished this book a year ago.
Yeah.
And everything that is happening is I had written about and had predicted. What's not shocked me is and it's almost like this is just get it on paper. This is a fact-finding mission. I am not seeing anything come out of the Justice Department that would lead us to believe that they intend to do anything about this, other than the basic convictions that they have of the intruders. But they're at the Steve Bannon's playing games with law firms about what he will and what he will not say. People taking the fifth left and right, and no consequence whatsoever. That has shocked me more than anything.
Well, people are like, oh, civil war, should we prosecute an ex-president? I think I don't see how this country can heal unless we prosecute this former president.
Absolutely. We have to have accountability. And here's the kicker. For those of you who've bought the audio version of my book, there's a audio extra in there, an epilogue, where I talk about all the gear and equipment that I wore in Iraq, in Ukraine, my body armor, my helmet, all this stuff. And then I realized the people who attacked us on January 6th were wearing this exact same equipment. Yeah. But I'm trying to defend democracy in Ukraine. They came here to destroy American democracy.
Yeah.
Trapped in the clothes and trappings of the special operations commandos with their, big McDonald's six-packs next to them.
Yeah, and you're not a cosplayer. You are the real deal. And you tweeted, I've donated most of the advance to the International Legion for new cars, ambulances, and medical equipment. Let's be best. Once we hit number one, launch it for the Legion campaign. We'll start to raise $1 million for vehicles, anti-drone, and non-lethal medical items for American and intel men and women. I'm so happy you are home safe, Malcolm.
Let me say this,
go ahead.
Steph, one last second. We are actually in a campaign to raise resources for the Legion. Non-lethal. We do not nobody needs any weapons over there. But, drones and these pickup trucks that we use as ambulances, we get bombarded all the time. We have casualties all the time. We had a guy die because we couldn't get him off the mountain in 45 minutes because we had no pickup truck. So, right now, if you're inclined to donate, you can go to tapestry.org. That's tapstri.org. Hit the donate button, and your money will go straight to non-lethal support for the Ukrainian International Legion. And it's the only time I have ever asked for money, ever, in the 7 years that I was on Twitter or on air. But now is the time for all good men to stand up and help out the fight for democracy overseas while we fight it here.
What was that? What was that site again, Malcolm?
Tapestry, tapstri.org.
Like the fantastic Carole King song.
Well, no, it's with an I.
With an I at the end.
Right, not with a Y.
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah,
thank
that's
you.
very different. So
tapstri.org, tapestry.org.
Yes, as they taught us in our typing class, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their party. Yes, I said typing class. Shut up. I'm old.
I took typing class too.
Listen.
I had typing class.
Yep.
Listen, what I got.
2 spaces after a period. I will die on that hill.
They want to kill Americans. Let's get this to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. This is how much I love Malcolm Nance. I was tricked into this book event, which I was told starts at 6, but it starts at 7 p.m. out here in Los Angeles. Thursday, July 21st, I will be moderating. You get to meet Malcolm Nance. There will be around in cities around the country. Yeah, go ahead.
Tonight I'll be at the 92nd Street Y in New York City with Elie Mystel, 7 o'clock.
Oh, Elie Mystal, hello, a bigger name than Mama. Okay, I'll be holding down the LA fort when Malcolm gets here, July 21st. So I cannot wait to see you, honey, and just so happy you're home safe.
All right, thanks. I'll see you soon.
All right, get the book.
Malcolm.
Buy his book. Buy his book. Buy his book.